What it do, Dream Team? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with Mr. Rowan Atkinson, also known as MR.BEAN, talking about communist Britain. Freedom of speech in question? Before we dive into this video, see what he's talking about. If you guys happen to enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you would like me to request a video that you suggest, you can subscribe to Patreon and request it. There's a link in the description section where I take premium as well as free requests, or you can drop it right down here in the comment section. Let's hear what Mr. Atkinson has to say.
My starting point when it comes to the consideration of any issue relating to free speech is my passionate belief that the second most precious thing in life is the right to express yourself freely.
Agreed.
The most precious thing in life, I think, is food in your mouth. And the third most precious is a roof over your head. But a fixture for me in the number 2...
I got to think, yeah. Oof. I may put roof over my head at number 2, and I may switch freedom of expression as my number 3. In my personal order.
Slot is free expression just below the need to sustain life itself. That is because I have enjoyed free expression in this country all my professional life and fully expect to continue to do so. Personally, I suspect highly unlikely to be arrested for whatever laws exist to contain free expression because of the undoubtedly privileged position that is afforded to those of a high public profile. So my concerns are less for myself and more for those more vulnerable because of their lower profile.
Wow.
Like the man arrested in Oxford for calling a police force gay.
No way.
Or the teenager arrested for calling the Church of Scientology a cult. Or the cafe owner arrested for displaying passages from the Bible on a TV screen.
Are those like legit instances that have happened in Britain? No way. No way. He called a police horse gay. That was enough? Or was there more in that situation that we're not hearing? No way. A restaurant owner got arrested for having Bible verses on his screen. What was the other one? Somebody called the Church of Scientology a cult. No way. No. Y'all got to talk to me in the comment section right now. I need to know if this is actually real. That's all they did, and they got arrested for that. And I do agree, however, because he has a higher standing in society, he is a lot less likely to be arrested for him saying what he wants, expressing himself however he wants, than those who have a lower standing in society.
When I heard of some of these more ludicrous offences and charges, I remembered that I had been here before in a fictional context. I once did a show called Not the 9 O'Clock News some years ago, and we did a sketch where Griff Rhys-Jones played Constable Savage, a manifestly racist police officer to whom I, as his station commander, is giving a dressing down for arresting a black man on a whole string of ridiculous, trumped-up and ludicrous charges.
Yeah.
The charges for which Constable Savage arrested Mr. Winston Cadogo of 55 Mercer Road were these: walking on the cracks in the pavement, walking in a loud shirt in a built-up area during the hours of darkness, and one of my favourites, walking around all over the place. He was also arrested for urinating in a public convenience and looking at me in a funny way. Who would have thought that we would end up with a law that would allow life to imitate art so exactly? I read somewhere a defender of the status quo claiming that the fact that the gay horse case was dropped after the arrested man refused to pay the fine, and that the Scientology case was also dropped at some point during the court process, was proof that the law was working well.
So how were they arrested in the first place? Like if the charges are dropped because they say, hey, there's no case against this, then something needs to happen for them being arrested in the first place. Because that makes no sense. Like I said, I don't know each scenario and if there was more to each situation, but I mean, I don't know why you would want to call a police horse gay or anything, but you shouldn't be able to be arrested for that. Like that's wild. So talk to me, Britton. What's going on in the country? Is there a law that's stopping you guys from being able to freely express yourselves? That's stopping freedom of speech, or what's going on?
Ignoring the fact that the only reason these cases were dropped was because of the publicity that they had attracted. The police sensed that ridicule was just around the corner and withdrew their actions. But what about the thousands of other cases that did not enjoy the oxygen of publicity, that weren't quite ludicrous enough to attract media attention? Even for those actions that were withdrawn, people were arrested, questioned, taken to court, and then released.
That's crazy. That's
that
crazy.
That is the law working properly.
No.
That is censoriousness of the most intimidating kind.
I love the way you said
Guaranteed to
that.
have, as Lord Deere says, a chilling effect on free expression and free protest. Parliament's Joint Committee on Human Rights summarised, as you may know, this whole issue very well by saying, while arresting a protester for using threatening or abusive speech may, depending on the circumstances, be a proportionate response, we do not think that language or behaviour that is merely insulting should ever be criminalised in this way. The clear problem with the outlawing of insult is that too many things can be interpreted as such.
Agreed.
Criticism is easily construed as insult.
That's why I've seen videos where they talked about certain speech is like outlawed in their country, in which to a degree I do agree. Like I don't like hate speech. For that to come out of anybody's mouth is ridiculous. But and then if that leads to actual things happening is yeah, can't stand it. But then when I say that, I ask the question to myself, like, who determines what exactly goes under that? Who is determining that? Because what is hate speech to someone may not be hate speech to someone else. And so he's saying, I guess there's a law permitting people from insulting one another, but who's determining? Let me go back and say, criticism is easily construed as insult. The problem with the outlawing of insult is that too many things can be interpreted as such. Yes, some people are I won't say that. Some people are more sensitive than others. What insults this person may not hurt this person's feelings. And what insults that person may not hurt this person's feelings. So it gets to who's determining what behavior is too insulting to the point where they have to be arrested. Not me. I try not to insult anybody. I try not to infringe on anybody's personal beliefs. But that's just the way I live my life. If somebody insulted me, I would just laugh or walk away. But I don't think that person should be arrested for insulting me. So y'all tell me how y'all feel about this. We're gonna let them continue.
Interpreted as such. Criticism is easily construed as insult by certain parties. Ridicule easily construed as insult. Sarcasm, unfavourable comparison, merely stating an alternative point of view to the orthodoxy can be interpreted as insult.
Agreed.
And because so many things can be interpreted as insult, it is hardly surprising that so many things have been, as the examples I talked about earlier show. Although the law under discussion has been on the statute book for over 25 years, it is indicative of a culture that has taken hold of the programs of successive governments, that with the reasonable and well-intentioned ambition to contain obnoxious elements in society, has created a society of an extraordinarily authoritarian and controlling nature. It is what you might call the new intolerance, a new but intense desire to gag uncomfortable voices of dissent. I am not intolerant, say many people, say many softly spoken, highly educated, liberal-minded people. I'm only intolerant of intolerance. And people tend to nod sagely and say, yes, wise words, wise words. And yet if you think about this supposedly inarguable statement for longer than 5 seconds, you realize that all it is advocating is the replacement of one kind of intolerance with another. Yeah. Which to me doesn't...
Because again, what may be intolerant to you is not intolerant to him, or is not intolerant to her. And so we just live in a society where everybody, I feel like, has differences of opinion in certain things. And so it's very hard to put everything under one umbrella. You feel me? And so, especially when it comes to expression or speech, that's not physically harming anyone. So it's very hard. Now, once again, don't condone insulting. I don't condone being intolerant. I don't condone hate speech. That's not how I choose to talk or insult anybody or present myself. Or you feel me? But just because you insult, that should not be enough means to arrest you. Yes, by doing that, you are infringing on freedom of speech and freedom of expression.
Represent any kind of progress at all. Underlying prejudices, injustices, or resentments are not addressed by arresting people. They are addressed by the issues being aired, argued, and dealt with, preferably outside the legal process. Mm-hmm. For me, the best way to increase society's resistance to insulting or offensive speech is to allow a lot more of it. As with childhood diseases, you can better resist those germs to which you have been exposed. We need to build our immunity to taking offense so that we can deal with the issues that perfectly justified criticism can raise. Yes. Our priority should be to deal with the message, not the messenger. As President Obama said in an address to the United Nations only a month or so ago, laudable efforts to restrict speech can become a tool to silence critics or oppress minorities. The strongest weapon against hateful speech is not repression, it is more speech. And that's the essence of my thesis, more speech. If we want a robust society, we need more robust dialogue, and that must include the right to insult or to offend.
Yes.
And as Lord Deere says, the freedom to be inoffensive is no freedom at all. The repeal of this word in this clause will be only a small step, but it will, I hope, be a critical one in what should be a longer-term project to pause and slowly rewind the creeping culture of censoriousness. It is a small skirmish in the battle, in my opinion, to deal with what Sir Salman Rushdie refers to as the outrage industry. Self-appointed arbiters of the public good, encouraging media-stoked outrage to which the police feel under terrible pressure to react. A newspaper rings up Scotland Yard. Someone has said something slightly insulting on Twitter about someone who we think a national treasure. What are you going to do about it? And the police panic and they scrabble around and then grasp the most inappropriate lifeline of all, Section 5 of the Public Order Act, that thing where you can arrest anybody for saying anything that might be construed by anyone else as insulting.
That's crazy.
They don't seem to need a real victim. They need only to make the judgment that somebody could have been offended if they had heard or read what has been said.
That's legit insanity. The ability to do that is 100% authoritarian. Yes. That's ridiculousness. Absolutely.
Most ludicrous degree of latitude. The storms that surround Twitter and Facebook comment have raised some fascinating issues about free speech, which we haven't really yet come to terms with. Firstly, that we all have to take responsibility for what we say.
I do agree with that.
Is quite a good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
But secondly, We've learned how appallingly prickly and intolerant society has become of even the mildest adverse comment. The law should not be aiding and abetting this new intolerance. Free speech can only suffer if the law prevents us from dealing with its consequences. I offer my wholehearted support to the Reform Section 5 campaign. Thank you very much.
Definitely love what he said there, and he said it so well. 100%. You can't, unless your speech incites violence, I would understand that, being arrested for that. But insulting someone, that's not an arrestable offense. Shouldn't be. You should have, because then it gets to the point of, all right, well, that person disagrees with me. Like he said in the video, I'm insulted by that. That person's criticizing what I have to say or my beliefs. I'm insulted by that. That person's being sarcastic about what I say and what I believe. I'm insulted by that. It's just it's a never ending cycle. And then at some point, yeah, you're not allowed to say anything. Because if you could never say anything that wouldn't insult anyone, you wouldn't be able to talk. Because, like I said, everybody gets insulted. Everybody's insulted by something different. So, let me know how you guys feel about that. Do you agree with what Mr. Bean said? Is there more to the situation? Do you disagree with what he's saying? How do you feel about this law? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section. That's all we have for this video. If you guys enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. See you guys next time.